the extension for trash removal contract, disability commission grievance procedure, 2020 state primary warrant, T2 agreements with the community center, appointing town council in addition to KP, and opening the warrant for town meeting, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then the town manager's performance evaluation, and then some recognition and public comment. Okay, so we've got our hands full tonight, which is great. We like to work. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started? Can we hear from the Land Stewardship Committee?
All right. Yes, so we were invited tonight, I believe, to discuss applicants to the committee, and it was my understanding that the Board of Selectmen had some questions about some proposals about potential upgrades to Steffens Farm. Is there anything in particular you would like us to discuss? Any place you'd like us to start with that?
I think one of the things as we make the appointments, we're trying to ensure that we've got some just clarity and insight for the board, but other members of the public around sort of what some of the key issues and opportunities are around the community gardens and Steffens Farms, as well as other key priorities that you have, so that we can just ensure that you have the support you need from the board and from any appointees to the committee.
Okay. Well, I believe one of the things we've been talking about recently, and that Alan, one of the applicants to join the Land Stewardship Committee, excuse me, has raised, is the issue of making Steffens Farm more usable by the public. And this is something that the committee has had on its radar for a while, something that we would like to do. It's a great property and we want people to be able to use it. And it has some challenges, both in terms of access for people using it, access for us maintaining it, and just the fact that it has a number of fields there that grow in very quickly. So it requires a lot of attention to keep those trails there in shape, in a state that people will want to use them. And I think Bill Taylor has put together a basic quote estimating some of the costs for maintenance and basic trail upgrades. And we've also obtained some estimates over the last several months for creating a potential access road over there that would make it more usable for the public and more accessible for us to perform maintenance work there. Bill, do you want to discuss the quote you had sent to me, or the estimate you had sent to me about trail maintenance of Steffens Farm?
Yeah. So one of the features of Steffens Farm is the fact that there are still at this point, somewhat remnants of the fields that were originally probably mostly used for hay, most recently, and perhaps for other things prior to that. But a nice feature, it's something that only exists on our Steffens Farm property. And so one of the things we've attempted to do is keep open a trail that runs through the fields. I can tell you the fields grow in really fast. So I think, from my perspective, probably take somebody 3 or 4 hours, at least twice a month, with a bush hog to keep the trails in the fields clear enough that I think most people would enjoy using them. And using a variety of numbers, I figured that would be about $1,800 a year, basically based on paying somebody $60 an hour to do the work, and they would provide bush hog. There are a couple of trail structures we still need to build. We've built several already, and actually those I think we can handle from the Land Stewardship Concom budget. That's how we've been handling it so far to build the others. And to the extent that we're able to get Boy Scouts to help out, and they've done a lot of work on a lot of our properties. Oftentimes they'll do fundraising as part of their project work. And then Eric also mentioned access. Steffens Farm does not have any permanent town-owned access. There is an access point that we're using today at the discretion of the landowner. He has told us that he may be selling that parcel to a friend of his, in which case there'd be a house on it and it probably no longer be usable. We have gotten money from the CPC to do some studies on the other access points. And I think it's fair to say that based upon what we've seen so far, you'd probably have to spend a minimum, of $150,000 to create access that would be really usable for not only people driving small pickup trucks up there to do routine work, but if you ever wanted to do forestry or if you ever wanted to lease the fields or anything like that, you'd have to spend that much. And the issue is topography. All of the points are pretty steep and ledge. You'd have to basically do some drilling in order to get a road up there with a reasonable incline. So most of the other trails on the other properties are in the woods. So they are readily handled by volunteers. You really only need to get to them once or twice a season to cut back branches and such, and to and after today, clear away blowdowns.
Bill, I'm just this Mike Penko. I just want to add two things just to clarify one point. We do have access, a trail access to Steffens that is on a town-owned easement. The access that is kind of at will of the abutter is for vehicles, equipment. And the second thing I just want to mention is that for the last couple years, we've been borrowing a brush hog from DPW, which very much appreciate, and volunteers have been mowing the trails. So, I think we need to discuss as a committee whether we want to continue to do that or spend $1,800 to hire a landscaper or someone to do it. The bigger problem I think we have this year is probably the fields in general. They haven't been mowed, I think, in 2 years now, and we'll probably need to consider hiring somebody to mow at least some of the fields, put them on a rotation. We did have a rotation started 2 years ago. We mowed a couple of fields, and we definitely could probably stand to mow a couple other fields this fall. We usually mow the fields in the late fall to avoid impacts to wildlife and also to minimize rutting, because some of those fields can be quite wet. So,
great. That's helpful. Anything else? For sure, if you guys need help with any of the mowing work or funding, we have the beautification funds. I know you guys have access to other funds as well, but just keep in mind that's there in case you need a little extra funding.
There's one other thing I'd like to mention, and Mr. Rosenfield has presented this idea to us in the land stewardship, and that is town water runs by Steffens Farm, and that could be a source of water for the community garden that's there. My guess is that you would probably have to spend between $6,000 and $10,000 to, and it's a guess really, but in any case to basically dig up the road to hook up to the water.
Mm-hmm.
And we have discussed putting in a proposal to the CPC for that. We haven't, those discussions just started, so we haven't taken any action on that yet, but that is under consideration.
Great. Okay. All right.
If I could just say one more thing, just we did just finalize our open space and recreation plan, and in the plan we did plan on upgrading this or revising the stewardship plan for Steffens Farm this year, 2020 and 2021. The stewardship plan that's currently exists dates from 2007, and I think working to revise that plan would be a public process. We would, look for public input, look for Board of Selectmen input. It could help clarify some of these management issues that we've been working with over the years, especially access. There's possibility when we did the open space plan survey, there was a high amount of interest for a dog park, for example. There's a potential dog park site at Steffens. Things like that could be addressed in a stewardship plan, an updated stewardship plan.
Good. Okay. That's perfect. That's what we were looking for. Steve or Maureen, any questions from you?
No, very well presented.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to say, over the past few years, that's something that I always hear from residents in town, which is we're always acquiring more open space, whether it's for conservation or whether it's for maybe, future field use or whatever it may be, wildlife habitat. But one thing I always hear, and again, you can argue whether or not it's founded or not, but is that the access to particular properties is not, it's just not conducive. It's very difficult to get to. Steffens, and one, I guess the question I would have for Bill and Mike, you had mentioned two things there, that there's kind of an at-will agreement to pass over some land to get equipment on and off of the property. We have a significant amount of acreage there. So, what can we do to, to ensure that we have that in perpetuity? And not only that, but I thought years ago we had a discussion regarding this property and the town had access off of Orchard Street. So I guess the question is, if we do have access off Orchard Street, is it defined? Do we have a survey on that? Is that something that, again, I should hope that it would be in perpetuity and nothing that, we would risk losing access to that.
Yep, so I'll answer that. There are, in fact, two access points off of Orchard, one of which I think was retained when we bought the land specifically for vehicular access. I can't remember, and we had that one looked at when we were doing, we had both of them looked at when we were doing the access investigation, and they were both between $150,000 and $175,000 for the reasons I mentioned before. So there's permanent town access point there. It's just that it would take a fair amount of money to develop it to the point where you could easily get a range of vehicles into the property. And I will say that one of the other points of access is actually one of the lots that had been subdivided for sale. It hasn't sold. It's not on the market right now, but that is the other Orchard Street access.
Okay. And the town would own that lot at this point in time?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And the parcel that you're talking that we currently are able to use to get mowing equipment on and off, is that on the Mechanic Street side, I would take?
It's on Mechanic Street, yep.
Oh.
It's actually, if for some reason the current owner decides not to sell it to somebody for a house lot, it is actually probably the most viable just in terms of its topography. It's fairly level and there's already a road there. So it certainly would be something worth considering. I mean, the fact is that it still end up costing, whatever a house lot currently sells for.
Yeah. Great. Any other questions, Steve?
No, that's all I have for now.
Awesome. Okay, Eric, anything else from your perspective that you want to share or update us on? Otherwise, I think we're in good shape.
I don't think I have anything else to add on that.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Moving on, Bill, do you want to talk to us about Solarize Plus?
Yeah, I do. We volunteers from Mendon and Upton have come together to create and start operating the Mendon Upton Solarize Mass Plus program. It's a program offered through our efforts, the efforts of local volunteers, and it offers several types of clean energy technologies sold by vetted, high quality and reputable installers at competitive prices. The clean energy technologies offered by the program include solar, PV, battery storage, solar hot water, and air source and ground source heat pumps. We've also partnered with the Green Energy Consumers Alliance to help introduce its Drive Green program to Mendon Upton residents. Drive Green works with dealers throughout the Commonwealth that offer electric vehicles at discounted prices. Solarize Mass Plus is a program of the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center. It's a competitive type process. We had to apply to get into it, and it's designed to increase adoption of clean energy technologies in Massachusetts. And what the Mass CEC has found, and this is true in other states, is that programs run by local volunteers, ones with an interest in green energy, and programs that provide quality products at competitive prices sold and installed by vetted and reputable dealers do that. And this program takes advantage of a competitive installer selection process, volunteers, bulk pricing, and clustered installation to achieve those program goals. The program has just kicked off. We recently finished, with the help of Mass CEC and Cadmus Technologies, a technical consultant provided by Mass CEC, selecting the installers and are now introducing the installers to Mendon Upton residents. Our Meet the Installer Zoom meeting was held last night, and as we speak, our Meet Achieve Energy, the installer selected to provide ground source heat pumps, is taking place. Upcoming Meet the Installer meetings include the following. All will be held by Zoom, and all are from 7 to 8 p.m. Thursday night from 7 to 8, our Meet RES Solar meeting is taking place, and Res Solar is providing solar hot water systems. Sunday night from 7 to 8, you can meet a representative of Green Energy Consumers Alliance to learn more about the Green Drive program. Monday night from 7 to 8, you can meet Ace Solar, our solar PV and battery storage installer. And finally, on Tuesday from 7 to 8, you can meet Boucher Energy Systems. And they're from Mendon, and they're our air source heat pump installer. The Zoom meeting links and much more about the installers, the technologies, financial incentives, and financing can be found on our website, solarizemendonupton.com. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions. I do recommend that if you have any interest in anything concerning the program, you visit the website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions, Maureen or Steve?
None, thank you.
I have none.
Great. Thank you, Bill. That's it's always a great undertaking and effort, and good to publicize that and get it out there. It's a lot of work by a committed group of people and a great program. So thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
So now we're going to move on to appointing applications to various committees. The first committee we have up is the Registrar of Voters. And Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we have 2 applicants for 1 open position. And it's how many years is the term?
So this is for a 1-year term?
Okay, so one seat for a 1-year term for the Registrar of Voters. I believe we have, I see Catherine Robinson here. I don't know if Lauren is here, but Catherine, do you want to say a few words? And then if Lauren's here, we'll ask her to do the same.
Sure. I hope that's not us.
Oh, can everybody mute their phones if not talking, please?
Okay. Actually, can you hold on for 1 sec? Hold on.
Steve, CS, Mary, you guys, can you mute? It'll just help.
Mine's in the other room, so I don't assume it would be interfering. I can take a look.
Okay. I think this should work better.
There we go.
I got to turn my volume on. First, I'd like to thank you for considering me and my, letter of application to become a Registrar of Voters. I was raised in Upton, and I lived here for about 20 years. Went to school at Nemauk High School and Memorial School, and then left for a while and just moved back into town, built a house, moved back into town. And I'm really happy to be home. As it said in my letter of application, I am a strong believer in the democratic process and the need for people to get involved in that process and to have access to the ability to vote, to know what their responsibilities are as citizens of this country and of this state and of this town. So this is something that I'm very, very interested in. I have been engaged in politics for most of my life as a volunteer or a staff person. I've volunteered for political campaigns. I've run political campaigns. I've served for elected officials. So I really do know how the process works and the importance of letting people know that they can vote, their voice can be heard, and, again, their responsibilities, their civic duty to get out there, no matter where they stand in the process, and to vote. And so that's why I'm interested in this position.
Wonderful. Thank you very
More
much.
than happy to answer any questions people have.
I was going to say, Steve, Maureen, any questions for Catherine?
Not at this time.
No, I have none at this time.
Great. Hi, Lauren. Do you want to say a couple words?
Again, thank you very much too for considering my application for Registrar of Voters. I live on Crockett Road on Lake Baspinock, and the kind of the forgotten road in Upton. We live in the home that my husband's grandparents built, a small camp, and so I've been here 30 plus years, and like I said in my application, I always believed in putting my money where my mouth is, and have been a volunteer a lot with involvement in my daughter's activities. I served as president and treasurer of Nemauk Youth Lacrosse. I served as a coach and cheer director for Nemauk Youth Football and Cheer, as well as helped a candidate collect signatures for a position, an elected position. I helped sign. First sign I held was growing up in Ashland, when Barbara Gardner ran for the House of Representatives. My father said, "Oh, you always wanted to get involved now." She comes. My background has been I've been a business owner. I was a bookkeeper. So I understand the attention to detail. The confidentiality of the information. I'm a fervent voter. I want, I think that, no matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green Party, you should vote and exercise your vote. And the best thing to do is to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to do it. I loved how Kelly would go to the high school and get kids when they turned 18 to register to vote, and start young and do it. And so if you consider, if you have any questions again, please ask, and I'd be happy to answer anything.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that.
Dog walking in the background, but
Maureen or Steve, any questions?
The comment.
Mm-hmm.
I have a comment. I'm looking at her qualifications on the application. She has a lot of experience in the financial end of things and may be well suited for one of our other committees, I would think.
Well, that was certainly one of the things I was going to mention. Is it's always great to have multiple people interested in filling a vacancy that we have that's available. It's just I think it's an expression. I take it as an expression of interest in volunteering and helping and doing something for the town to give back to the community. And fortunately, we have a lot of opportunities to do that. Clearly, you're both, in a great position to be helpful on the Registrar of Voters. I think there are a lot of other places where there's opportunity and need. So hopefully, everyone will be encouraged to volunteer their time and help out in any way they can, regardless of appointments tonight. It's always a bit of an interesting spot to be in when we're in this situation, but it's a good thing in the aggregate. So with that, Maureen or Steve, I'll take any motions you have.
I was just going to.
Go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to make a quick comment and a quick question for both candidates. Yes, I agree. It's always difficult when you have to choose between one or the other. We have so many positions that are not filled. So thank you both for stepping forward. So I guess just a quick question. Did either one of you attend town meeting, and did either one of you vote in the most recent election?
I'll answer that one first. The most recent town meeting, no, I did not. I wanted to, but I am very concerned about COVID-19, so I wimped out. I did go to the special in the fall, and I did vote in the last town election.
No, I did not attend. Same reason as Catherine. I've been trying not to go out as, same thing with the COVID, and I did vote in the last election.
Great. Thank you.
Great. I'll motion. No more questions. Great.
No.
Entertain a motion.
I would move that we appoint Catherine Robinson to the Board of Registrars.
I was going to make a motion that we appoint Lauren Montenegro to the Board of Registrars.
Oh, goody.
It's all on you, Brett.
Yeah, thanks. This is fantastic. Clearly, Lauren and Catherine, Lauren, I know you. Catherine, I don't know you as well. Are there other folks that have a perspective that would want to share that are either on the Registrar of Voters or any other feedback we could get? Otherwise, I'll just make a decision.
What?
Oh, yes.
So as the town clerk, I'm also the ex officio member of the registrar. And Lauren, I didn't have a chance to talk to you, and I apologize. But I have had a conversation with Catherine, and based on her background, she was very involved with the Democratic Committee for the March primary. I actually sought her out to see if she was interested in this. So, Lauren, I didn't realize you were interested, and I know you too. So I just figured I needed to say that as the town clerk.
Great. So, Al Holman, I can't tell if you want to say something or if you're just flapping that Twizzler in the wind.
Just flapping the wind.
All right. Great. So with that, why don't we appoint Catherine, and then Lauren, hopefully you will, I'll take a motion for that, or I'll second Maureen's motion, and then Lauren, I please do hope that you'll entertain helping us in some other capacity that would be very much needed and appreciated.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I've seconded Maureen's motion. Any other discussion, Maureen or Steve?
No.
Okay. Motion carries with the majority action. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Brad, could you just take a roll call vote?
Sure.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Sandy, do you want us to re-motion it? You want us to just re-motion the? No. Okay. I will second that motion. Stephen Mattelli, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Unanimous action. Okay, great. Next one is the Land Stewardship Committee. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy. I think this is 2 slots that are open, 2 applicants that have expressed interest, and both 1-year terms. Is that right?
Going on it right now. Yes, 1 year.
Okay,
1 year.
great. Marcella, do you want to, if you're here, do you want to say a couple of words?
Sure. I am a former member of the committee. I took a couple of years off for personal reasons, and I'm ready to come back and work with the committee. And I, in fact, chaired the committee for most of my involvement with it. So I feel like I know the ins and outs of how the committee works and what we need to accomplish. And we've done fundraising, we've done work with the Boy Scouts, and we were out there, ourselves doing the trail work. So I'm excited if I could rejoin and participate again.
Great, thank you so much. Are you on the phone? Alan Roosevelt, are you on the phone or no?
I'm Fred. It's hard to hear you with Catherine's, voice coming through.
Got it. Can folks mute their phones? Catherine and others, please mute. And just a reminder to folks, if you're not speaking, please mute your phones so that we can all hear. Thank you.
So, Brett, my interest is with regard to the Land Stewardship Committee, particularly Steffens Farm. I was a selectman at the time that Steffens Farm was acquired by the community. I am currently a user of the community garden. The interest really developed from that. The interest as far as the community garden is the stark reality that even after 17 or so years after the town acquired that there's been no connection with town water. That was something that I thought should happen. And I was allowed to express that at one of the posted meetings about 2 meetings ago for the Land Stewardship Committee. My wife and I are also members of the Botanical Garden in Boylston. And honestly, I see a vision for a botanical garden over the years at Steffens Farm. I think it's especially important when I see my fellow citizens walking the streets of Upton with cars racing by. Steve is probably referencing me among others when he talks about people talking about the perception of acquiring, but the lack of accessibility for the public. And I think the public can access those lands without it being environmentally damaging to the land. And that hasn't happened, in my opinion. There's a good group. Many of the group that are currently on that, I know them within the community and appointed them as Conservation Commission members while as selectmen. Who I am, I moved here in 1987. I have been on, God, I don't know how many various committees appointed by the Board of Selectmen. I have been a Board of Selectmen. You, Brett, are personally aware, myself, Rick Benaco, and Bill McCormick originated the Upton Men's Club because seeing a need within the community, that community, in addition to volunteer service in our community, has also raised and given back over $1 million to the community over the past 23, 24 years. I love the town of Upton. I expect to live here for the rest of my life. I don't intend to move away, and I want to continue to do public service. Public service became something very important to me. I learned a great deal, and I think I got guidance at it, honestly, when I went to Notre Dame. I I just want to be a part of this community, and I see a need for my vision, my ideology on that particular committee.
Wonderful. Okay, that's great. Thank you, and yeah, thank you for all your past service. It's certainly recognized and appreciated. With that, any questions? Otherwise, I will entertain motions.
I have no other questions. Just to say we have two good candidates to step forward. This should be a very easy one to decide.
Same here. No
Okay.
questions.
Right. These are both for one-year appointments.
I'll make a motion to appoint Marcella Stasha and Alan Rosenfield to the Stewardship Committee.
Second the motion, Stephen Mattelli and I.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Show that as unanimous action. Thank you. Next, we have the Council on Aging, one applicant. I think there's one slot. Sandy, is this also a 1 year or more? Tell by her gaze that she's looking. Yeah, no, one year, perfect. Okay, so this is another 1 year appointment. Lori, are you on the phone? Would you like to say a few words? Okay. We are in receipt of the application. So with that, any comments? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion for 1 year appointment.
I make a motion that we appoint Lori McGann to the the COA board.
Yes, Council of Aging. I second the motion, Stephen Mattelli and I.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Thank you.
I was just going to add to that quickly, Brett. I happen to know Lori. She's a lifelong resident of Upton. I believe she served as one of the Council of Aging van drivers. So she'll be a great addition to that committee. No question about it. Very, very nice person. Very good personality.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great. Next, we have the updates to the policy and procedures and personnel manual for elected officials. Derek, is this something that you were going to give us a quick overview of? Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, just give me 1 second here. Okay, so I brought up on the screen the proposed changes for the Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual. As you all recall, this new way allows, it provides us to not have to go to town meeting to make changes to our personnel policy and procedures. In fact, it allows us to go directly to the Board of Selectmen to make these small and minor adjustments. So what's before you this evening under Section 6, you will see highlighted here in blue is a very short sentence that will address the previous issue that we discussed at the last meeting that will now prohibit any elected official will not be eligible to earn, accrue, or use or receive compensation for vacation, sick, and vacation or sick leave. So again, although we don't have any individuals that would fall into this category, this is certainly a belts and suspenders approach that would prohibit elected officials to receive some type of compensation for any vacation or sick leave, as previously discussed. So that's one change. The other change here, highlighted in blue, really is a focus on our part-time, non-benefit eligible employees. What we have learned over time is that many of our part-time employees, there is no limits or restrictions as to when they can take time off. Let me be clear, this is unpaid time off that we're talking about. This is not paid time off. But this area highlighted in blue allows supervisors, based upon time of service with the town of Upton, to take time off depending on the number of years of service with the town. So, for example, if you have worked with the town of Upton for more than 5 years, you would earn 3 weeks unpaid time off. So again, just so I'm clear, right now there are no limits to part-time individuals in taking time off. And in the past, we've had some part-time people who want to take the summers off, which poses a significant challenge to our operation. So again, we want to include this so that part-time employees have the same accrual process as full-time employees. Again, to be very clear, this is unpaid time off. So those are the two amendments that are before you this evening. Pending any questions, I'll turn it back to the chair.
Thank you, sir. Steve, Maureen, any questions?
No, it seems pretty clear.
Yep, I have no questions at this time.
Great. Go ahead,
There's a question by Jody who suggests that she writes, I think you need a vote of the governing body to change this. So I just want to answer the question. Based upon the bylaw changed about 1.5 years ago, there's a personnel bylaw that's on the books that's been approved by town meeting. In that bylaw, it allows the Board of Selectmen to make changes to the personnel policy and procedure manual, which is what is before you all this evening.
And can we ask for Jody's, I got her first name, last name, and address, just so that we have it for the record, please? Jody, I don't know if you...
Jody is Al Holman. You just type that he is Al Holman. So excellent. Al, as you being a former Board of Selectmen member, you're probably more accustomed to the fact that personnel bylaw changes would have to go to town meeting. That alteration was made about 3 town meetings ago, which again, there is still a personnel bylaw that's on the books. But in that bylaw, it defers changes to the personnel policy and procedure manual to the Board of Selectmen to make those changes in between town meeting, and which is what's before the board tonight.
Okay, I think, can you all hear me?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, I think that was one town meeting I missed when I was sick. So, okay, super. Thanks for the response, Derek. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the question. It's always important to get these things right, as we say. We've had to back up a couple of times, so we like to minimize that. Great. Any other comments? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion or question, Steve or Maureen.
I'd move that we accept the changes under Section 6 of the Personnel Policy and Procedures regarding paid time off.
Before I second that, there was a second part to the Policies Procedures Manual. Did we want to talk about that separately?
It's all under the same section, actually.
Okay.
The elected official is under Section 6.
Okay, because it also makes mention of the elected officials definitions. So did we want to talk about, we said questions, so I didn't get a chance to get my question in there. Maureen, you went to motion a little quickly. That was the only thing. It says definition for elected officials. So I think I just wanted, before we second that, I just want to kind of, Derek, if you could just talk about that for just a second. There's 2 items under that. So is that more or less just, it's really just one and the same, right? It's just one and the same.
I'm just going to pull it back up just so we're all clear what we're referring to. Are you referring to this section right here, highlighted in blue, Steve? Where it says elected officials are not eligible? Yep. So that's one change to this Section 6. And then I'll scroll down a little bit. And this is the second change, which references unpaid time off for part-time employees.
Got it. Those are the 2 changes. Okay. Very good. I will second the motion. Stephen Metellian, aye.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Unanimous action. Next item on the agenda is the motion to allow library storybook walk signage at VFW Playground. Is anyone here from, oh, there you are. Yes, Mr. Batchold.
Hello.
Hello.
So this is a request that the library is filing to put up a story walk at the VFW playground, and we got referred to you as the authority over that playground and over signs. So briefly, what a story walk is a series of signs, and each sign has one page of a children's picture book on it. And you start at one end, and the idea is you walk along, you read the story to your child or with your child, you get some exercise. It exposes some people that may not be regular library users to some of our services. And we've done a couple of these before. Sometimes they get spread out over a longer area, so it's more of a hike sort of thing. Obviously, at the VFW playground, it would just be a very short walk. The signs would be we're aiming for about 10 feet apart, and it's about 18 to 20 signs. Each sign is one page of a picture book. And our children's librarian is looking to do 3 of these, one in the month of August, one in September, one in October, and the signs will be up for 1 week, and we do 1 book for each month.
Thank you. I mean, obviously, the primary question on everybody's mind is the same. So how will you manage social distancing and adherence to the Board of Health protocols around COVID-19?
Right. So assuming the playground is allowed to be open, which I think it is now, but that might change in the future. Basically, you have a sign at the beginning saying, please 1 person per station. And basically you space them out far enough that gets you your 6-foot distance or 10 foot in our case. And then presumably if you're at the playground, you're hopefully wearing a mask anyway, because you're out in a public place. But we can put on the first sign, whatever guidelines we want to give people, which, wear masks, don't crowd the group in front of you.
Okay, great. Any questions, Steve, Maureen?
Just based on the way the map that you have with the stars laid out, is that roughly where the signage will be, or do you plan on encompassing the whole the whole playground area?
We could do either way. My thought was that end of the playground is a little more empty of equipment, and it would keep a little more separation between people on the equipment and people on the signs. We could spread out the story walk and make it take up a longer path and space out the signs more. My preference would be to keep it, at that sort of empty end. As long as we can get, I'm saying 10 feet between each sign. If you think 12 or 15 would be better, we can do that.
Yeah, that's the only thing I was just thinking as I was looking at the position of the stars and knowing the basic lay of the land there, it just looked like it may be a little close together. So I guess I would just encourage you to spread out just a little bit, just to err on the side of caution.
Okay, does 12-foot minimum sound good between each sign? We'll make sure it's 12 feet.
That's fine with me.
I actually didn't hear most of the conversation. I don't know, there was an awful breakup.
Oh.
I would be in favor of it.
Okay. Great. Sorry about that. Are there other questions, comments? Otherwise, we'll take a motion.
I'll let you do, Steve, because you heard what he was saying.
All right. We were just talking about technicalities.
All right.
Distance between signs, just to ensure safety. I would make a motion to allow the library storybook walk signage at the VFW playground as described by Matthew Batchold. Stephen Mattelli, aye.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Thank you. Unanimous action. Next on the agenda is a motion to accept various grants. We have a Complete Streets grant as well as a Med Project grant. Are there folks on the phone that would like to speak to the Complete Streets grant? I see Mr. Westgate here.
Hello. Thank
Good
you,
evening.
Mr. Chairman. So as you know, we applied for a Complete Streets grant last year, and we were not successful. This is round 2. Our deadline to submit was July 1, so I wanted to make sure that we at least got our name in the hat. And I think I've talked to the board before about making some slight alterations based on MassDOT's recommendations and comments for the last grant. So this is identical to the work that we submitted last year, with the exception of the town is making a commitment in the background that should we be successful for these grants, we are looking to change that street when we repave it to be a complete street. In other words, reduce the width of the travel lanes from 13 to 11 feet and add bicycle lanes in there. That combined with the new sidewalk compliances for ADA and AAB would make that street complete streets. Doesn't have any change or impact on the finances. It is a street that is on our list for redevelopment in the next couple of years anyway in our road management plan, and that's the gist of it. As a reminder to the board, the grant is for $370,000. This is the top 3 priorities in our Complete Streets program. This goes after the crucial ADA signage, ramps, crosswalks along Pleasant Street for the 2 schools, from Maple all the way to Main Street.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Any questions, Steve, Maureen? This is good stuff, Dennis.
Very good stuff.
Very good. Dennis, when you mentioned that distance, so when that road gets re-engineered and repaved, that bicycle travel lane would be from that distance, from Maple to Main Street?
Yeah, and I would obviously want to phase in so that we kept in mind that we want to continue that road paving across the bridge and all the way up to the town line as we head towards Northbridge, because we'd want to tie that in at some point. You don't want to let the road. I believe that road was a former TIP project, and it's getting on in its age. We crack sealed it quite a few times. It's still holding. It still has integrity, but it's certainly slated for replacement. And I wouldn't want to have that part of the road redone without considering doing the rest of the road in the not so distant future.
Great.
Okay.
Questions?
I have nothing else.
Great. I'll take a motion. Maureen, you're muted.
I think she's muted. I would make a motion to approve the Complete Streets grant, file an application that has been presented to us by Dennis Westgate. Stephen Mattelli, no?
I'll second that. Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Beth Simus, aye. Unanimous action. Next, we have the Med Project grant.
Police chief here.
I am. Good evening.
Hi, Chief.
Good
Welcome. Didn't see you there, so I'm glad you're here. Go ahead and let us know on this one. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This grant is a $1,300 grant through the state of Massachusetts to support our household medication kiosk that is in our police station lobby. We've had that kiosk for about 10 years now. We collect all types of household medication. If you need to get rid of medication, old medication, or family members that no longer need medication, you can drop that off. It was originally purchased through the Board of Health, and we thank them for that. And now the state is offering grants to either purchase a unit or to support your current program. So this will be used to defray the cost of some of the expenses and labor used for disposal of those items.
Great. Chief, just this is great. Just a side question: does the Dropbox take EpiPens or needles, or are those disposed of differently, or is there a place in town to dispose of those safely?
It does not. It only takes pill medications. For needles or EpiPens, we usually send people down to the Board of Health to see Diane or Trish, and they can take care of those items for you.
Perfect. Good. Great. Great for people to know. Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
I move that we accept the Med Project grant in the amount of $1,300.
Second the motion, Stephen Mattelli and I.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Unanimous action. Thank you. Next, we have the order of taking for the Hartford Ave project, phase 2 of the Hartford Ave project. TIP project is going on. Mr. Westgate, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So here we are again. We made it through phase 1 right-of-way acquisitions, and we are in the 11th hour of our phase 2 right-of-way acquisitions for the TIP project. This one was a little tighter window. The state moved their deadline up twice on us unexpectedly, and our deadline is actually the 24th of this month to be able to stay on track. Pardon? I'm sorry, to stay on track with the programming of the finances. So we have followed our compliance requirements for all of our notifications. We sent a letter of intent out. We sent a letter of offer. We had appraisals done by a certified appraiser in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and another appraiser to review as per the federal guidelines. We have met all of the requirements for environmental with MassDOT. We have completed the 100% design stage. All of the abutters have been notified, certified mail. I've already met personally with more than half of them. Most of them called me within the first 7 to 10 days. And it's the same question, Mr. Chairman. You know, they just really want to understand what they're looking at. They receive a letter in the mail from the town, from myself, and it has a map and it talks about an easement, and everybody assumes that they're losing land or there's takings, and it really isn't. The taking is of the easement, and the easement is granting us temporary permission to step foot on your property while we can finish the construction of the TIP project. And when we're done, we will return your property to the same condition or better than it was. But it remains the people's property. We're not taking any properties on this. We were able to keep the tree removal down to a minimum, and the Conservation Board was very pleased. We managed to do that entire sidewalk on phase 2 with only 10 trees coming down, mostly oak trees, and they're right in the path of the sidewalk itself. So after this, I need a vote, obviously, tonight from the board. The MyLaws have been completed through Koppelman and Page in beta, and they are being FedExed to Derek's office. And I will need signatures from all 3 of you so that Koppelman and Page may record these plans. And as soon as I receive the book and page number, after they've been recorded, the last packet will go out to these residents, basically with instructions on how to collect their check.
Great. Steve, Maureen, questions, please?
No questions.
I can make a motion.
Thank you, sir.
I move that the board vote to execute the order of taking for the Hartford Avenue North High Street Improvements Project for the purpose of acquiring the easements set forth in the order of taking and shown on the plans entitled Layout of Easements Plan of Land, dated May 21st, 2019, prepared by Lighthouse Land Surveying LLC, and authorize town council to record the order of taking and plans with the Worcester South Registry of Deeds. Stephen Mattelli and I.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Unanimous action. Next, we have a motion to authorize the town manager to execute the extension for trash removal with E.L. Harvey and Sons for the public trash pickup. Derek, do you have any comments on this, or do we want, Al, I don't know if you want to share an update or info from your perspective?
Yeah, I'm essentially, at this point in time, we have the opportunity to extend 2 years. But after discussion at the last Board of Health meeting, we decided that a 1-year extension would be fine, because in September, as you well know, we have a meeting to get together and talk about trash in general and how we're going to handle recycling and the full spectrum of trash handling in general in the town of Upton. So we're asking you to give us to sign the 1 year extension so we can get through this and get through our discussion on what we're going to do over the long haul. And we still have another year that we can extend if we have to, but this is just a 1 year extension to get us through.
Great. And correct me if I'm wrong. This is something that we need to approve just to maintain continuity of service even between now and September and going forward. So this is more of an administrative. It's in the budget. It's what's there. We need to approve it. We all know we've got a major trash opportunity and recycling opportunity to discuss. We're planning to discuss it in September in a public forum, a public meeting. And so this is more of that administrative approval. But with that, Steve or Maureen, any comments or questions?
Just really one quick question, and I know it's going to be super hard to answer, but do you have any read on how things are looking right now with the state? Is anything changing? Fees? Is there anything that the board may be aware of that you could share with us in advance?
No, at this time we haven't heard anything. No, there's been change as far as we know. But before we get together as a group, we'll have the latest and greatest information. We'll poll the state to find out what the status is. We'll have a flavor going on. But at this point in time, the state's having just as much trouble trying to figure out what to do as every town is. So we're at.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? If not, I will take a motion.
I move that we grant an extension with E.L. Harvey for trash removal from 7/1/2020 to 6/30/2021. Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Second the motion, Stephen Metellian, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Unanimous action. Next, we have a discussion on the Disability Commission grievance procedures. These were sent out to the board, and we've had the opportunity to review them as presented. They're attached to the agenda. Maureen, Steve, any questions or discussions on this?
No, I'm ready to make a motion because the Disability Commission has moved it forward to us for approval.
Yes, I read it. Makes sense. It looks thorough, so I am ready to move forward as well.
Great. I certainly support the recommendation coming out of the commission, so I will take a motion.
I move that we accept the grievance procedure under the Americans with Disabilities Act as presented and written.
I second the motion. Stephen Metellian, aye.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Unanimous action. Next, we have a motion to execute the 2020 state primary warrant. Anything you want to talk about here, Kelly, or are we just going to approve this as it is? Anything we need to do or discuss?
Nope, it just needs to be posted in order for me to have the election. And maybe I'll take this opportunity for anyone that's listening, that if you want to vote by mail, we definitely have that available. And we'll have early voting here at the town hall starting August 22nd, which is a Saturday and Sunday. And the primary will be September 1 at Nipmuc High School, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to execute the 2020 state primary warrant with the dates that Kelly McGower just mentioned.
I'll second that. Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Stephen Metellian, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Next, we have the
Chairman, point of order. Hi, Brett Simus. This is Michelle Ancinarelli from the Disability Commission. I have
you're recognized. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have two questions. First of all, it's not clear to me who from the Disability Commission is present. I see Bob Carnegie, Janice Nowicki, and myself. Are either Christine Scott or Paula Lepore here?
Chris Scott is here.
Thank you, Chris.
You're
And
welcome.
then, second of all, I'd like to make a motion that the Disability Commission adjourns their meeting.
Second,
So roll call vote.
second by Chris Scott.
Michelle Antonelli, aye.
Chris, I.
Janice and other folks from the Disability Commission.
Right, I think they're already logged off.
Okay, very good. Michelle, is that sufficient? Are you guys okay adjourning?
Yes, I do actually have a question. I don't know if Derek or Kelly can help with this. I've been taking crazy minutes, but I believe for the purposes of the Disability Commission, I would just need to summarize what happened with the Disability Commission vote. Is that correct?
Getting a thumbs up from Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the Community Center Architectural Design recommendation. Mr. Brochu is the chairman of that building committee. I hand it over to you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. First of all, with audio, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, if I start phasing out on the audio, please, Brett, give me a thumbs down so I can, regroup and start again. So I first want to say on behalf of the Trust Fund Commission, my apologies to the board that we had to postpone the election tonight because we, the Trust Fund Commission, did not post for this evening. So my apologies to the board for the postponement of that election. It won't happen again. So again, in front of you is a contract from T2 architectural firm that the Community Center Building Committee will hope that the Board of Selectmen will approve with respect to the design of the potential community center in the center of town. If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'll give you a little bit of a background how we have come to this. On May 19th, the town of Upton sent out an RFQ, request for qualifications. We posted a legal ad and we posted that in Combis for the design for the proposed downtown community center. 114 agencies, firms, and publications requested a copy of the RFQ. Quite amazing. And again, with that said, I want to thank Kelly McElrath and her office for the distribution and the coordination of all of those RFQ distributions. She did it as well as provided a summary sheet where it went and who it went to. So kudos and thank you to the town clerk's office for that. 15 firms returned a proposal with respect to the RFQ. The committee, utilizing a real defined scoring system with respect to the requirements that were identified within the RFQ, we narrowed it down to 4 firms, which was Odin Architectural, T2 Architects, LLB Architects, and BH&A Architects. We did 2 nights of Zoom interviews on June 24th and 25th with those 4 firms. We did 2 one night, 2 the following night, and it was the unanimous decision, tough decision, but unanimous decision to award T2 the potential contract for the proposed community center. So in front of you, and again, working with the OPM, with Vertex, we worked with T2 and came up with a contract amount that fits, that basically will provide all the services that we are looking for, as well as fits within the current budget that we have allocated for this project. So with that said, in front of you is the contract for T2, and it is our hope that you will provide a positive vote for the execution of that contract so we can continue moving forward.
Thank you. Great information and background. Obviously, anytime you do these types of things, it's a very robust process that's required to vet all of these and manage through them and then score them, evaluate them, interview them, and then regroup. So thank you for all the time, effort, and energy to everybody. If I may say, Mr. Chairman, I do have a phenomenal committee. It's made up of some very important individuals and with all special talents and unique input to the committee. So again, I am very fortunate to chair and be part of this worthwhile committee. Yeah, wonderful. So please extend our appreciation to all. It's a tremendous amount of work, and it's a great project for the town. You know, as expressed by the overwhelming support at town meeting, this is going to be a key part of our downtown revitalization. It's such an important project for the community and for the people in the community. So with that, Maureen and Steve, what questions do you have for Mr. Brochu?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment to reiterate what you said about the appreciation of all the hard work that this committee has done.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly a lengthy process up till now, that's for sure. Can we share with the public the contract value at this point in time?
I have, if I may, I have the contract value, and again, hopefully it's the same. I have it on my spreadsheet. Hopefully it's the same on yours. It's $549,875.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so that we're folks on the phone and for the public record, this is part of the pre-approved money from town meeting. So this money was already approved as an expense through the town.
Yep. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, for transparency, we have, again, as you know, we've awarded the contract for the OPM. We've allocated some funds out of that $700,000 for the surveying of that land, as well as this architectural fee. So with an estimated amount that we're putting in for the potential bidding process and potential any legal costs, we still are carrying an uncommitted contingency right now of about $28,000 on this project. So again, we are under budget with respect to what we've been tasked to do.
Yeah, great, good. That's great to get that on the record. Great question, Steve, and point of clarification. Sometimes we read these things and see them and forget that folks may not be aware of that. So any other questions or comments? I'll take a motion.
I would move that we approve the T2 agreement for the community center architectural design.
I second the motion. Stephen Mattelli and I.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Unanimous action.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great work. Next is the motion to appoint Merrick O'Connell, Damali, and Luge to as a town council. So any discussion on this, or Derek, do you want to give us a little bit of background, please?
Just for the folks that are listening, just so they understand, under the bylaws, the Board of Selectmen, they are the appointing authority for town council. Every year, historically, the Board of Selectmen has appointed KP Law, and we just did this past June as our primary town council. But there are certain situations where we have to go outside of KP Law. Very rare situations, but sometimes they do present themselves. So the recommendation tonight is for those rare situations where we have to go outside of KPLR, my request is for the Board of Selectmen to authorize the use of Merrill O'Connell, Denali, and Luge LLP as town council as well.
Great, thank you. Maureen, Steve?
Oh, just a quick question. Derek, you don't see this in any way impacting the budget, as far as our legal budget at this point in time?
No, not at this time at all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but you're I'm all set.
Okay, great. I will take a motion.
I move that we appoint town council Merrick O'Connell, Denali and Luge LLP.
Second the motion, Stephen Mattelli and I.
Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Unanimous action. Next, we have the fall special town meeting warrant opening with the recommendation to open it today and close it on September 11. Derek, do you want to just give us a quick primer on this for folks on the phone or on video?
Sure. So as we do always, we are requesting that we open the warrant as of today and then close on September 11th. This, provides this window of time, provides an opportunity for our boards and committees, our departments, and any of those citizens that wish to submit a citizen's petition to be considered for the town meeting warrant scheduled usually for the November time period. I'd like to say, if you don't mind, that and I was going to bring this up during my comments under the town manager's report, that we did receive notice last week from the state that our state aid, so our unrestricted government aid in our Chapter 70 is going to be level funded. As you recall, we, as part of the budget process, and a portion of our revenues comes from state aid, and we had submitted the same numbers of FY20. We submitted those as FY21. So I'm happy to report that we do not have any budget deficits for FY21 as it stands. That being said, FY22 remains to be seen. The state's going to continue to work on their FY21 budget, and then certainly after that, start looking forward towards their FY22 budget. And so, again, there's a lot of uncertainty for the FY22 budget. So I think it's at least for something for us all to consider whether or not we really need to have a special town meeting in November. I have talked to the departments. At this time, there are no urgent capital needs. I have reviewed prior special town meeting warrants, and approximately 90% of the articles are for capital expenditures. So given the fact that I don't anticipate any capital expenditures, and we do have an approved balanced budget, it's at least worthy conversation about whether or not we have to have a special town meeting. And I'd also add to that that COVID is going to pose a challenge in the fall. Although we had our meeting in the auditorium at Nipmuc, there were some folks that thought that we had taken away their vote to right. So by not having a special town meeting, I think it helps mitigate those concerns, and that we move all of our votes towards the annual town meeting in May. So pending any questions, I'll turn it back to the chairman.
I would just, recognition challenges that we would have with the November special town meeting. I think everybody here is committed to doing what's in the best interest of the community. If we need to conduct the business of the town and timely, and we need to have a meeting in November, clearly that's what we'll do. If we're able to adjust the agenda and accommodate whatever needs to be in in the regular town meeting next May, and we can do that effectively and without impact to the town's performance, then you know, we can do that, and I'd certainly be comfortable with that. That being said, I'll open it to my colleagues Steve and Maureen.
I would certainly like to think about not having a fall town meeting, especially with the COVID, and seeing how we have a budget, balanced budget. And none of the departments, Derek, you said, have any real capital needs that they need?
No major capital needs. The fire department does have one request this year, and I told them I'd be working with them to try to delay that one request.
I'd be acceptable to not having a special town meeting, but probably we should give the people out there a chance and open the warrant and ask them if it's not necessary, please don't put any articles on.
I mean, I would think that we'd want to stick with tradition, follow the protocol, and see what articles arise. And if it's certainly something that isn't pressing and we can delay, I think that would be in our best interest. But I think at this point, you know, it's certainly something we can, you know, keep revisiting in our regularly scheduled meetings and see how, you know, what changes. Is there anything in particular that may need to be voted on that we may have to have? And you know, where will we be with COVID come November?
Yeah,
I mean, there were some issues at the last town meeting about people not being able to attend because of the COVID, and they're telling us now that it's going to be even worse in the fall.
Yeah, and I certainly agree with both perspectives. Both, you know, there's the, you know, if we don't have to have it, we won't have it. But I also, Steve, agree with you that we want time to socialize. Not having a town meeting, right, to your point, there's a long-standing history and tradition and expectation and process and cadence to the way we conduct the business of the town. So I feel more comfortable giving us time to socialize the idea, to give folks the opportunity to share input, give us feedback, and, you know, assume and hope that we don't have any business that we need to. That would warrant us having a November town meeting, but proceeding as though we would in the event that we need to or that we need to. And not opening the warrant, I would fear would put us, you know, at a delay or sort of behind the calendar if something were to come up. So this way here, we give ourselves some time and readiness if we do need to move something to the agenda.
Yes, I agree.
Great. I will take a motion, unless there's more discussion. Sorry, Maureen, anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Derek, I'm sorry, Stephen. Derek has a
I just there's a couple conversations going in the chat box. I want to make sure that folks who haven't seen the chat box we're addressing those. So one question was, what is level funded? And so my response was that level funding is the same exact funding amount from the previous year. And that's what the state has committed to the town of Upton for FY21. What they have awarded us in FY20 is now going to be the FY21 award. So there's been no funding change for that. And then Lynn Haggerty brought up a point about holding special town meeting using the certified Zoom. I mean, I don't know that answer, but we're happy to do some research on it.
Yeah. Derek, can you maybe just talk about that UGA money and cherry sheet money so that people just have a sense of what that dollar figure is when we talk about level funding from the state?
Right. So good question. So as I talked about a little bit at town meeting, that our state aid represents approximately 4% of our total budget. So we have a budget of approximately $25 million, which was approved this past year, a little bit shy of that. And so 4% of our contributions for our revenues come from the state, but the biggest components of our state aid really come through UGA, which is our unrestricted government aid, which is approximately $565,000 And then we get a very small amount through Chapter 70, which goes directly to the schools. And off the top of my head, I think it's approximately $38,000. So again, not a very significant amount, but it's certainly something that if we were to get any type of cut, we would have to have contended with and looked within our existing budget to make some budget modifications in order to mitigate those cuts. So it's good news that we're not going to receive any cuts. Kenny Costa has done a great job when he budgets our local receipts. So local receipts would represent our building permits, things of that nature, our motor vehicle excise taxes. And so because he does a good job with conservative budgeting, we believe even if there was a reduction in some of those areas, say there's less construction this coming year than next year, we know that we could absorb any reduction in local receipts based upon his conservative budgeting.
Okay. Very good. Great. Thank you. I will take a motion.
I make a motion to open the warrant on August 4th for this fall special town meeting and close it on September 11th, 2020.
I'll second. Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Stephen Metellian, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Unanimous action. Next, we'll discuss the town manager's performance evaluation. For folks that are here, on July 14th, the Board of Selectmen got together in executive session in accordance with the Section 5, or to review the town manager's performance. He has part of his annual manager's employment agreement in Section 5. There's a component of an annual increase or annual review, not unlike what any of us in the corporate sphere experience. So went through a preset list of questions about Derek's performance and the goals. We each individually ranked the town manager's performance on a scale of 1 to 5. We got together after we each did our individual scoring and feedback. We got together and calibrated all of that and shared perspectives. And the net result was an overall rating of 4.21 out of a possible high score of 5. And I think, clearly that's representative of the caliber and strength of the town manager we have. Anybody, and this is a little bit of inside baseball, but anybody that's worked with or experienced a town manager, certainly in this state and in the area, well recognizes that Derek is an exceptional and extraordinary leader for the town of Upton. He's extremely well versed. He comes to us with immense municipal experience, having worked out of Worcester in a big role there, and also in Plymouth there. This is a great opportunity for the town to grow, formalize, and professionalize a lot of the practices that we have, and I think a lot of us have seen that just in the couple of years that Derek has been here in terms of increasing the number of grants that are being written, inspiring us to be more planful in our planning for town meetings, putting together an annual calendar, coordinating across all of the departments, boards, and committees. And so in addition to evaluating his performance, we talked about goals for the upcoming year. We went through that with Derek, and it was a very cordial and healthy conversation, and we appreciate that. I've certainly never had anything but positive feedback about Derek. That's not always the case because obviously in public life, there's always someone that has some question or criticism. I certainly won't say that Derek is perfect. I don't want this to go to your head, Derek. But in the scheme of things, we're fortunate, and Derek does a great job. So a heartfelt thank you, Derek. With that, obviously, any comments, Steve or Maureen, or anything you'd like to add? Once we have that, then I will entertain a motion to enact the salary increase that was approved by the town meeting back in June.
I think you've covered all the bases. Certainly, it's been a pleasure working with Derek for my first year, and he is very well versed and very informative. Thank you very much, Derek.
Yes, I think you both have covered everything. So we look forward to next year. And thank you, Derek.
Thank you. I will take a motion.
I move that based upon the town manager's FY20 performance, I move the board approve the town manager's salary as written and approved at the 2020 annual town meeting. Maureen Dwinell, aye.
Second the motion, Stephen Mattelli, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Unanimous action. I have some recognition for a longtime Upton resident, Barbara Burke. I will talk about that and then open it up to any other comments that folks on the phone or fellow board members would like to make about Ms. Burke. Barbara Burke was a longtime Upton resident, and she passed away on Friday, July 17th of this year at the age of 91. She was raised and educated in Upton. She was a graduate of Grafton High School, the class of 1947. In 1980, she obtained a bachelor's degree from UMass Amherst in education and library science. Prior to her retirement, Mrs. Burke was employed as a librarian for the Mendon-Upton Regional School District. She was she was a Eucharistic minister at the former Holy Angels Parish for many years. She was chairman for the Holy Angels Bishop Fund, as well as serving as the elementary religious education coordinator. Mrs. Burke held various offices, such as the Central Mass Beagle Club, chairman of the Board of Library Trustees for the Upton Town Library. She served in the Upton Historical Society since 1975 and has been chairman since 1980. The Upton Heritage Homecoming Committee she was on from 1985 to 1994, and she was elected to the Heritage Hall of Honor in 1999 as a living outstanding citizen and had been an elections official since 1973. Clearly one of those rare people that just gives and gives and gives to the community and the people that she's around. People like this, to me, certainly being in the public sphere, are an inspiration and a testament to what's good about people in local communities. So it's a great and sad loss for the town, and we recognize and appreciate Miss Burke and all she's done for the community. With that, I'll open it up to anybody else that knew Miss Burke or has any perspective or comment.
I never had the pleasure of meeting Mrs. Burke, but I do want to extend my condolences to her family.
I was just going to make a quick comment, and I think Mr. Brochu is probably going to say something similar. She was Memorial School librarian for all those years, back in my elementary school days, and Jim, I think for you as well as the 275th Parade Committee. I believe she served on that as well. I think Doug Kenniston and Barbara Burke were the two, I think they were both the, I can't find the word now. Were they I want to say she was not the Grand Marshal is the word I'm looking for. I believe they were both co-Grand Marshals. You would think that would be so much easier to find, right? I wanted to say.
I know what you meant. I'm like, standard bearer? No.
No, I was thinking prom queen. King of the court. That can't be it. Anyways, but certainly, yes, a lifelong citizen and certainly a figure of the community for years.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Brochu.
Yeah, as Steve said, I've known Barbara just about all my life. Again, like Steve, she was my librarian. in school. We were very good friends. I was good friends with her entire family, and I had a name for her. I don't know if she liked it. You know, I used to call her Mother Upton. You know, she, and again, this is not meant to offend anybody, but I don't know if you would ever find anybody more passionate with respect to this town. She believed in it, fought for it, and she had a way about her. You know, when she wanted something, you didn't argue with her. You just did, you know, what she asked. You know, Lisa, my wife Lisa, served again as the co-chair with her on the Heritage Committee for the last, you know, quite a few years, you know, on the Common. So again, Upton was very fortunate to have her, and Upton is a better place for what she has done for this town, and she will be missed.
Brett, can I say something?
Kelly, yes, please.
Has 19 years ago, when I was elected town clerk, she was an election worker, and shortly after that, she became my election warden. I always treasured on election days. As many people are aware, she made the best brownies out there, so you were always happy when she showed up with brownies for us. And lastly, you know, part of the reason why I wanted to speak is Jim's comment about her passion. We wouldn't have Heritage Park if it wasn't for Barbara Burke. She was very instrumental in making sure that the town purchased that property and saved the cave and established the park. And I think that was her passion for the town. So thank you for her recognition. She was a good friend and mentor.
Wonderful. That's great. Great to hear those stories. Any other comments or recognition from the board? Okay, we will move on to the town manager report. I'll hand it over to you, Derek.
Okay, great. Well, that's tough to follow. I had a chance to meet Ms. Burke a couple of times, and even though I hadn't known her very long, she was always very cordial to me and was treating me well when I saw her. So she will be missed, like Jim mentioned. So as far as tonight's report, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. You know, there's a lot going on, especially during the summer months. And so I'm going to try to highlight some of those items that we're working on as we speak. So first item I would just want to touch upon is there's many of you who travel up Hopkinton Road towards Hopkinton. You look to your left and you see there's a lot of land clearing. There's currently an active subdivision being built. It's called a preserve at Dean Pond. It's being built by Lobasa Corporation. That subdivision will have approximately 14 single-family homes being built in that subdivision. And off the top of my head, they did a great job working out open space as part of that agreement. And I want to say it's approximately 30 acres of open space that are going to be preserved during that.
It's actually going to be much more than that. It's almost, I think it's 60 plus 66.
Okay.
There's a 60 acre parcel which abuts the state forest, and then another 6 acre parcel on the other side of the development. So yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah. So thanks, Bill, for correcting me. I knew it was substantial. 60 acres is certainly a lot of open space, and again, connects us to the state forest. So I think it's a win-win for the community with the small subdivision. At the same time, I think what Upton is being known for is its open space and its trails. So you'll see more of that over the course of the next 6 months being developed. As far as the DPW goes, our director is here today, and as you can imagine, this is the time of year outside of snow removal. The Fowler Bridge project is underway. If you go down to Fowler Street, you'll see that the tree clearing is complete. You'll see erosion control is now in place. The road has been closed as of July 29th, and then they just mobilized the equipment this past week. That road That side of the road is going to be closed for the better part of 3 months, could be longer, as they complete the rehabilitation of Fowler Street Bridge. Keep in mind, part of that project is to correct a couple of what I call spaghetti lines that run under the brook into 2 homes. These are water lines, and then so those are going to be removed. They're going to add a water main on that road, and then they'll end that water main with a hydrant. So again, providing fire protection to the folks in that neighborhood. So I'll keep you posted on that as that moves forward. As Dennis reported, the TIP project is moving quickly. You can go down that High Street in Hopkinton and see for yourself all the different construction work that's taking place. And again, that'll continue for the remainder of this construction season. Paving will begin according to our pavement management plan sometime in the next week or two. Dennis is working on a priority list of streets that will be paved this summer. As soon as that list is complete, we certainly will socialize that so folks know when their streets are going to be paved, if they're going to be paved this summer. The often talked about wastewater water comprehensive assessment plan is now complete. Dennis and I were working together so that that assessment can be presented to the Board of Selectmen. As you know, that assessment looked at our water and wastewater infrastructure. It has a number of recommendations for capital improvements, so we'll be talking about that probably, I would say, September to October time period. Moving on to human resources, as you can imagine, there's a lot going on still with COVID, so we continue to monitor and update our return to work policies and other policies and procedures for our staff. Just this morning, Sandy had released the newest travel guidance based upon Governor Baker's travel orders, restricting folks to a 14-day quarantine if they travel outside of New England, New York, or New Jersey. We found out, and I thought it would be, policy would change in 3 weeks. It actually changed 3 hours later. Now we understand that if you travel to Rhode Island, you will have to 14-day quarantine. So, you know, some of the stuff never gets discussed, but we, Sandy in particular, spends a lot of time with just working with our human resource policies, especially as it relates to COVID. So it's a moving target that we're continuing to try to pay close attention to, so we can keep our staff protected as much as possible. So, moving on from human resources, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Grafton Upton Railroad. Many of you have probably driven down Maple Ave and have seen some construction taking place. Let me assure the folks in the community that our DPW director, our fire chief, our police chief, our building commissioner, our conservation agent, and state officials from DEP are actively engaged in working with the Grafton Upton Railroad. Chairman Simons and I both sat down as well to get a briefing as to their intentions over there. We do plan on holding a community conversation with the railroad and our local officials to let folks know the details of what their expansion plans are. But in short, folks who are interested need to know that they do plan on constructing a building that will hold approximately 25 chemical storage tanks over in that yard. They have been doing some blasting. They plan on adding an additional 18 spurs to the rail yard that will help hold additional rail cars as they, again, continue to grow. And so those spurs will traverse what is now the brook and what runs adjacent to the brook. We have a sewer easement. We have a sewer main that runs to our wastewater treatment plant, and it's approximately 10 feet in depth. And so those spurs are going to, again, cross over what is now the brook, which will be filled in, and over what is now a sewer main. So we're actively working with them to try to cover all those details and make sure that or wetlands will be replicated, and there's a plan in place for them to be replicated, and our DPW director is working with them on what's the best course of action relative to the sewer main. And then last, before I move off of the Grafton Upton Railroad, I just wanted folks to know that they plan on replacing the crossing on Mendon Street, and they will close the road. They're working with our chief of police. They plan on closing the road from August 28th to August 31st. Now, as we get closer to those dates, we'll certainly be using our electric signboards and other notifications so folks know that an area of the road is going to be closed. Moving on from the Grafton Upton Railroad, I just wanted folks to know that 2 weeks ago I received a phone call from the Commissioner of Agriculture, John LeBeau, who's also a selectman in the town of Shrewsbury. He asked me to serve on a statewide committee that will provide policy recommendations to the governor as it relates to the new act that was passed to mitigate arbovirus in the Commonwealth. So as you may recall, we had a lengthy discussion at a Board of Selectmen meeting, I want to say back in April, where the board had authored a letter advocating against this act, felt that it went too far and was overreaching, especially some of the aerial spraying that was suggested in it. So the act did pass. There were some slight modifications. The governor is appointing a board that will provide input from a lot of different perspectives. I was asked to sit on this board because of a couple reasons. One, we're a community that is not in the mosquito control district. We're a community that is against aerial spraying. And then last, they were looking for somebody who had a health background. So for whatever reason, I fit that mold. So I've been asked to serve on that. My name has been forwarded, unless I hear otherwise, to the governor for this appointment, and I'll keep folks posted as to how that progresses. Additionally, I have worked with Representative Meridian. We submitted an economic development bond bill again, totaling approximately $4.1 million. The request was to provide infrastructure money for our town center redevelopment based upon the vision that was approved a year and a half ago at a town meeting. I'll keep the community apprised as to whether or not that bond bill is passed and whether or not money materializes out of it. And then last is just a few announcements I'd like to make. I think Kelly touched on the election. There's early voting that will take place here at Town Hall from August 22nd to August 28th. That's the early voting period. And then the actual primary will be held on September 1st at our usual place over at the high school. So again, that'll be widely distributed. A part of preparation for that, the town clerk's office has already received over 1,000 requests for mail-in voting. So that office is going to be extremely busy over the next few months preparing for both the primary and the presidential election this fall. The number of departments are working on a finalized online permitting program. So the fire department, Board of Health office, and Code Enforcement Department are working with Kelly's office to implement an online permitting process. Will not only help us if we were to have folks work from home again due to a potential second wave this fall, but certainly should make our operations more efficient by allowing, say, contractors in this case to submit building permits, plumbing permits, electrical permits all online, and then those permits being processed online. That project is slated to be 100% funded through CARES Act dollars because this is a need that we have, again, like I mentioned earlier, for folks that may have to work at home. We're hoping that'll go live in early September, at least with the Code Enforcement Department, and then the other two departments quickly follow. The last two items I have is that Hazardous Waste Day will be held on August 15th from 8 a.m. to noon. and that I spoke to the library director today, and the library will continue to stay closed until September, pending anything that happens with any uptick in new cases over the course of the next 4 weeks. So pending any questions, I'll turn this back over to Selectman Signage.
Thank you, sir. Great and informative update and comprehensive. Thank you. It's a testament to all the work that's going on in Town Hall by yourself and lots of other places. So appreciate all the work, effort, and update for the community. Small detail question. Hazardous Waste Day, that is at the DPW, is that right?
Yes, that is held at the DPW.
Great.
And that's sponsored by the Board of Health.
Sponsored by the Board of Health. And just so, things that jump out at me obviously are paint and things like that. Are there other things that people might be accumulating or have in their garage or attic or basement that they can bring just as a FYI?
Yeah, computer monitors, televisions, hazardous waste like chemicals, paints, I think tires. I have to double check, but I think, Dennis, do we know if we accept tires still? I'm not sure if he's listening. But tires used to be part of hazardous waste today as well. But we're gonna, as we get closer to that, we're gonna send out, or the Board of Health will send out a list of various items that folks can bring in very small fee to our residents.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on the tires. We did last year.
Right. Okay.
Do we have a fee schedule on, say, monitors and tires and paint and things of that nature?
We do. Again, I have to defer to the Board of Health.
Okay.
And I'm sure it's pretty, it doesn't matter. It's a pretty modest fee given what you're getting rid of. I know that stuff hangs around a long time, so I plan on making a trip over myself.
Right. I do have one quick question, actually. I'm glad, Dennis, that you're back on the screen. Derek, I was going to ask you on the manager's report. I've had a few residents ask me about the Upton Town Common, the park benches that were removed a few months ago due to the pandemic. Do we have a plan moving forward for when those benches will be reinstalled on the Common? Has there been any discussion about that?
We stored them safely, and we're prepared to put them back as soon as we are asked to do so, but we have not been asked to put them back yet. And I would imagine that's probably coming soon. I would defer that to the town manager.
Yeah, and again, I wish Al was still on here. There's been a lot of questions that have come up about, some services, for example, heritage parking. I have continued to defer some of these questions to the Board of Health, given that these are all public health matters and leaning on them heavily to provide those recommendations. But to Selectman Matting's question, I'll be happy to follow up with the Board of Health and see if they have a recommendation regarding those park benches.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I believe the courts were reopened up at Kiwanis, so I just didn't know as far as the playground and the benches down on the Common. What is the schedule on those particular items?
Great.
Right.
Thanks, Derek, for letting us know once you get that update.
Okay.
Great. Anything else about the town manager report, Mr. Taylor?
I have a question. I signed on to the town website this morning, and it looked different. Were there any other changes other than perhaps just the format?
That's a great question. So there were changes made. Kelly has been working on a transition of going from the old website visual to what you see now. It looks better, but I'm going to defer to Kelly because she has rightly admitted that there's a lot of work that she has to work with this company on with some of the other changes that she expects.
Yes, thank you, Derek. And Bill, thank you for bringing that up. I did think of that at one point, that there is a new homepage, and for the most, the website is working like the old website was. A couple of things that are a little bit different. We have been working over the last more than the last couple months with the company, but through different reasons, it's been delayed. And I will admit I was a little surprised when it went live this morning. So I've been in touch with the company, and we're going to work on getting what we had originally looked for up and running with the company over the next couple weeks. But if anybody sees anything that's really different, let me know. But I think for the most part, it's going to be what the format is, and we'll just be changing some of the menus around to make it a little bit more easier to navigate and find, hopefully, for the residents. But I would love to take any feedback that people have on what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, I was going to say this is one of those typical things with software, right? Like it's great that it's out there, but it's only as good as the users that are using it, sharing feedback and making changes. I know most software companies, and Kelly, you can attest to this, right? Like they can do a lot if we give them the feedback and ask them to make changes and adjustments. Most things are very doable within reason. So.
And I apologize, it wasn't publicized more that the new website was going to be coming live. Actually, I know Paul Flaherty's on it, and he's the one that informed me that we had it. So I didn't even realize it until Mr. Flaherty sent me a message this morning. So more to come on that as I get more information from the company.
Perfect. Great. Thank you, Bill, for bringing that up and letting us have the conversation about it. Other questions for Derek?
None from me.
No, I have nothing else.
Any public comment? Mr. Brochu?
If I could just make a comment with respect to the town manager. As you and others are fully aware, the town of Upton has had 2 town managers. I served with the first town manager for 6 years, and I can honestly say that we had a good town manager at that time. I can truly say with interactions and comments that I have heard that we truly have a great town manager here in Upton with us now. This town is very, very fortunate to have Derek fighting for them and fighting for this town every day in the best interest of the town. So every day I pray that he will not leave us, and I ask that the board continue to work with him to keep him on board as long as we possibly can, because again, this town truly has a great, great town manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
There, Brett.
Flaherty.
You knew I couldn't go without contributing something. I just want to kind of reiterate what Mr. Brochu had just said, that for the 6 years, the previous 6 years, I had worked through the finance committee very closely with the original town manager, and it was a change from the way the town did business, and it was a positive change for the way the town did business. But I reiterate again what Jim had said earlier. Don't let this guy go, okay? Be nice to him. Keep him around, because he's doing a hell of a job as far as I'm concerned. A lot of people may not agree with that, but that's just my opinion. So thank you for letting me speak, Mr. Simus.
My pleasure, Mr. Chairman. We have to stop commenting on how great Derek is. His head's getting really big. I'd say he's doing a pretty good job, and we sort of like him. If he comes, if he goes, whatever.
Brett, he meant to go sideways through that door to get out of that office tonight, huh?
I must say, I'm especially surprised. Mr. Flaherty, you very seldom say anything nice about anybody. I'm very surprised you had something to say about Derek. I thought you were going to reminisce back in high school with you and Mrs. Burke graduated together. Back in the good old days.
Mrs. Burke was much older than I. And I take exception to your comment that I very rarely, if any time, say anything nice about anybody. So I'll remember that, sir.
I will say it many times, my friend, many times.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may comment too, that you are looking much better this evening, especially with the trimmed up beard. So you are looking much better this evening. So it's very good to see.
Thank you, Jim. I was just trying to follow your lead, but I will have you note that I was going for the look of our forefathers. If you go into the main meeting room next to the town manager's office, there's some pictures in there of gentlemen with very stately long beards. So I was just trying to honor their legacy and tradition of the town of Upton. But
I just thought you were getting ready to be ZZ Top, during Halloween. That's all, So
that opinion is the one that won out. I tried to make the case for as long as I could.
Hey, Brett, you better quit while you're ahead.
I know. Thank you, everybody. Any other public comment? Go ahead, Derek.
Only because I just have to make a few comments, and I know folks want to go, but this only happens once a year. You have the annual evaluation, and it's one of those opportunities where you try to look inward and see like where you can make improvements. But I mean, let's be honest that any success that I have really gets down to the department level. We have unbelievable department heads, and I've said from day one that like the staff in the town are really second to none when you think about how limited they have for resources. We have many of our offices that they work by themselves. So, I appreciate everybody, their comments to me today, but again, it's really a lot of the hard work that they do day in and day out. And I've also written on multiple occasions in a lot of my communications, public communications around the boards and committees, and that this community is unique, that we really lean heavily on our board and committee members to do a lot of the work on behalf of the town and not get paid. Bill, I don't know how many committees he sits on, but him and guys like Mike Penko and others, they're out there, cutting back the trees and the hedges and opening up our trails. We talked about that today, and like Jim and Paul and others, and I see Salazar here still, Lynn Haggerty, Deb, and they're all committee members they're not getting paid to do this. So again, I'll say this, I'll end with this, that any success that happens in the community is a team effort, and so if I fail, then I think we all fail, and if I succeed, then we all succeed. So again, I appreciate all the comments made, but it's really for the hard work that everybody else is doing. And then last, I appreciate the Board of Selectmen for what you have done to help support me, because times can be difficult, and sometimes I need to be pulled up or whatever, and you have done that for me. So my hope is that I continue in this seat for many years to come. I do recognize that our managers have a life expectancy. I just hope mine is not as short as others, especially as of some of the recent news you've seen out there. So again, I'll end by saying I thank you all for your support, and I look forward to next year's conversation at this very time. So thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that, Derek. Other public comment? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn. Maureen Dwinell, aye.
I second the motion. Stephen Mattelli and I.
Great work, everybody. Thank you for the time. Brett Simus, aye. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening. Bye-bye.
I know.